Hey everybody, how's it going? What's on My Shelf, Season 2, Episode 2. Before we get into today's book, first off, welcome everybody. We're going to talk about our sponsor. You may notice this fine lid I'm wearing today from Cloud at Work, run by my very, very good friend Tyler Bauer. He has the most swag, but on top of that, and having the best swag, but on top of that, Cloud at Work delivers the most scalable, flexible, and secure Sage application hosting solution in the cloud, a top Sage partner. So if you need Sage applications hosted, you should talk to Cloud at Work. Tyler and his team are amazing. So today's book, we're going to talk about Topgrading. Interesting thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts on this book. I read this book in 2017. The company that I was with at the time, we were implementing these strategies and how we were recruiting and promoting and conducting our interviews. And I remember reading this Memorial Day weekend of 2017 and wanting to gouge my eyes out. It was a very, very painful read. It's kind of thick. It's kind of long. It's, not even like a skimmable type of book. There's a lot of detail and stuff. I took a lot of notes and I added a lot of bookmarks and everything. But what I will tell you is that this book actually did change the way that I look at recruiting and at interviewing and at hiring and, making all of those key personnel decisions. So I wanted to share just a couple really, really quick points from this book that I think really everyone can take from this. Why I think everybody should read this, or at least like the Cliff Notes version of this. The book review itself will not suffice. But there's two main concepts I wanted to cover on that really actually keep coming up in conversations that I have now in my life as an EOS implementer, or dealing with my clients and some of the challenges that they come across and how they can find the right people for the right seats. So the first concept is something called TORC in the book, T-O-R-C, the threat of reference check. All too often when we're asking for references from the people that we're interviewing, we're asking them to provide references, and what do? They give us a resume that may or may not be correct, and they give us references to people who are obviously going to say only the best possible things about them. Now, granted, you can't say bad things about certain people. There's obviously all sorts of HR compliance things that you have to deal with. But at the same time, we want to set a different type of dynamic when we're interviewing people, and we want to tell them who we want to speak to and which references we'd like to speak with. So what we do throughout the entire process when you're following Topgrading is you're reminding the candidate that at every step, you're reminding them that at the end, before we make any decisions, we're going to want to talk to their two most recent bosses, the two people that they reported directly to most recently, to see how it was working with them. And the thinking here is that if they left there in a bad place, if they screwed that company over, if they weren't really a great employee there, they're probably not going to be able to set up that reference call, and they'll probably weed themselves out and probably not even bother applying for the job. And as they get further and further along the process, the more they're going to invest, the more they're going to realize that this is going to happen, because it's really important that we're able to ask the people who have worked with them in a similar capacity that will be working with them, how they behave, how they show up to work. And more on that in just a second. So that's the first thing, is just really setting the dynamic for these are the references we're going to speak to. Obviously, there's outliers, there's circumstances where we can't speak to their most recent boss if they're there. We're not trying to disrupt things, but we want to make sure that the person that we're bringing in here is going to behave the way that we want. And the best way to do that is to speak to the people that they reported to and see how they left on good terms, etc. The second concept is competencies. When you're interviewing for a job, at every step, you want to focus on the competencies, the specific skills that job entails, to make sure that you're asking experiential questions that are going to let you know if the person who you may be hiring has these skills, these competencies. And what I find a great parallel to in what I'm doing today with EOS is the core values. We talk a lot about how these core values are so important in using them as a filter for who joins your organization, who you hire, who you fire, which partners you want to do business with, which customers you want to do business with. Every decision you make in terms of who you want to do business with as an organization revolves around what your core values are. And to the degree that in the interviewing process you want to ask questions about those competencies and the skills that they need to do the job, we also need to ask questions around those core values. We need to ask those references that we speak to about the core values. We need to understand what our core values are and ask really good questions that'll give us a good indication as to whether or not this person will exhibit these core values, behave the way that we want them to behave, so that they're a natural fit into our organization and that we can accomplish great things with them. And that they can accomplish great things with us. At the end of the day, if somebody takes a job that they're not the right person for, or they're not in the right seat, they're not doing anybody any favors, right? We ultimately want everybody to be happy in their role. We want them showing up, working with people who they love, right? doing what they love with the people that they love, with time to pursue other passions, making an impact, being compensated accordingly. And if they don't have the right characteristics, it's not going to happen. So let's make sure that we vet that as early in the process as possible through reference checks and having a good understanding as to what our core values are and asking really, really good questions around what those are. And then you're going to find that you're going to hire great people and those people are going to stick and you're going to accomplish amazing, amazing things. Thoughts? Let me know. Put up some comments, some likes. I love the engagement. It's really, really helpful for me to learn about what you want to see next. Got a whole bunch of books over there. So if you have any ideas as to what you'd like to hear me talk about, let us know and we'll see you soon.